Big goals often seem overwhelming, but if we can break them into smaller, more manageable tasks, then our success is better, higher, and we are more likely to achieve it. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. How do we break those big tasks, those big goals, that is, into smaller, more manageable tasks? Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode, and I'm so glad that you are joining me for my 100-day walk to consistency. We are on day number 31. Before we hop into our discussion, I want to remind you that consistency is your superpower. It is the key to setting yourself up for success. So let's hop in, let's have our talk. I'll see you on the road. So we're talking about goals, and we're talking about breaking goals into smaller tasks. The problem with big goals is that while they are motivating and while they can be inspiring, they can sometimes make us feel as though they are unachievable. Think about walking, for example. And we are walking, right, 100 days of consistency. And if you think about 100 days and you're thinking about all 100 days, then it's easy to think, well, I can't do that. Something's going to come up, something's going to break my stride, something's going to interrupt me. And so we become discouraged. And so we sometimes, remember that fight, flight, or fear, or freeze, fight, flight, or freeze, we end up not doing anything. And so when we're able to break that into smaller goals, break it into a week, break it into a month, right? So instead of 100 days, maybe it's 3 months, maybe it's 1 week, 12 weeks, whatever the number of chunks that you want to break it into. But that sometimes sounds better, feels better than does the whole thing. And so while you can be inspired and while you can be motivated by the entire goal, the entire thing that you're looking at, breaking it into smaller chunks allows you to see that it is possible to have success, and then you're more likely to do and more likely to not freeze. So that's one of the benefits of breaking our goals into smaller goals. The other benefit of smaller goals is that they build momentum and they give us a clear path to success. So momentum, for one, we've talked about the benefits of compounding. When you do one thing consistently over time, you get better at it, and one thing builds on another. And as you are building, that thing helps to strengthen the next and the next and the next. And before long, you have that snowball that's rolling down the hill that is just picking up more and more and more and more steam, and has the force and the power to be able to achieve what we want to do. Okay. I forgot what show I was watching when I was a kid, and this is the first time that I got this concept, and it was the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. I don't even remember where that comes from, but each journey that we take, whatever the task is, it starts with one step. And so breaking the journey up into the smaller components allows us to know that we can do it, and then it allows us to build on the momentum. The other thing is that breaking into smaller steps is easier. Right? Going back to our 100 days, walking one day is easier than walking 100 days. And so I don't have to worry about the 100th day or the 99th day or the 50th day, for that matter. All I need to do is I need to deal with today. I need to deal with this day, this one day that I'm looking at. And so it allows us to see more manageable tasks and to be able to apply our resources to managing all of that. Okay, so each small step is a win, and each small step is connected to the larger step. It is a pin, it is a milepost to that new thing, or to the larger, and so we're able to see the benefits. Okay, so how does breaking goals into smaller tasks deal with or help us with consistency? Well, for one, it reduces our overwhelm. Yeah. So remember, our bodies, our brains, our minds are so adept at the story that we tell it. And so when we have a large task that brings lots of emotion, we can easily become overwhelmed. And so the story we begin telling ourselves is one of challenges, one of I can't do that, I'm not going to succeed, this is more difficult than I thought. And so that begins building that negative self-talk, and that sets us up for difficulties and sets us up to have a situation where we're not successful. Not because we couldn't be successful, but we began creating the story, and because the story is now feeding on our emotions. And so when we break it into smaller tasks, it decreases our ability or the feeling of being overwhelmed. A key point there is consistency becomes more manageable when you stop and look at smaller tasks. Number two, it builds momentum through small wins. Right, back to what we were just talking about. Think of that snowball going down the hill. At first, it's very small. It's not even noticeable sometimes. But as it goes, it builds and it picks up momentum. And so here we are, day number 31, right? When you started on day number 1, day 10 may have seemed like a big deal. Day 20 may have seemed like a big deal. Day 30 may have seemed like a big deal. But here we are, day number 31, and the momentum is building. I'm feeling it. And so I told you guys that I had to adjust my schedule and change some things in the office to become more organized. And so now I am anticipating, right? So there are times when things are going on, but because I've changed my schedule, it is a part of the process. And so the momentum now says that, hey, this is going to happen. This is happening. And I'm building on the days that we've gone before. The next thing is it motivates you, right? So when you see you're able to check off those boxes, there are several of you out there that like to check the boxes, right? You get a thrill out of seeing your checklist and just pop, boom, because it gives you satisfaction. Well, when we break tasks into smaller, or break goals into smaller tasks, then it allows us to be able to check those off, and that helps us with our motivation because we can see progress. Think about climbing a mountain. That whatever the height of the mountain is, and so you're down at the bottom and you're looking up, and it's like, oh my goodness, we got to go way up there. But the more you climb, the closer you get to the pinnacle, and the closer you get to the pinnacle, the more you want to climb, right? So that momentum builds, and it motivates you because just one more, we can do this, okay? And then it teaches, it helps you track progress and allows you to know whether you're heading in the right direction. So if we're waiting for the whole to let us know that we are moving in the right direction, that we are achieving, then sometimes that's a long haul, right? So we're not able to track, we're not able to evaluate, we're not able to pivot because we're not looking at not looking at milestones. But when we can break that into smaller goals, then we can track more easily because those milestones are things we could look at. Okay, you can put that in your calendar, you can put it in your organizer. In fact, I'm working on getting a little bit more organized in my software, and just having a good time. Actually, I'm having fun, right? So just the idea of getting more organized is fun. That seems weird, right? That seems strange, but it is. And I know there's some of you that are out there that are like that, right? Just the organization itself is a part of the fun for you. When you break it down into small goals, then you can put those on paper. You can put smaller steps. You can say where we're going. We could change. We can pivot. We could do something different. We can change parts of the process, right? So remember, we're focusing not necessarily on the destination, even though that's where we want to go, that's where we're heading, but we're focusing on the progress or the process that we're using to get there. And so that sets us up for success because we can tweak the process. We can tweak that, make changes, adjust if we need to, and that gives us a lot of flexibility. So how do we go about breaking these big goals into smaller, more manageable goals? And number one, and you know this is coming, we have to have clear goals, right? So if the goal is cloudy and muddy, then it's much more difficult to effectively break it up because you don't know whether you don't have clear definition. Let me just say that you don't have clear definition about what we're doing and how we are putting this together. So when we are thinking about breaking these goals into smaller tasks, it has to be clear, it has to be concise. Make sure you're doing the SMART goals, right? A clear vision allows for better motivation, better chunking, and that's the term, by the way, when we're breaking those goals into smaller chunks or smaller pieces, smaller tasks. It's called chunking. So when we're able to do that, it becomes our GPS when we have clear goals. And so now all we're doing is we are putting in the mileposts, the mile markers, to help us to know if we're heading in the right direction. And that's because we have created clear goals, clear and concise goals. Next, we're going to break the goals into those milestones. So milestones are those achievable things that are going along in the goal itself that are saying we're heading in the right direction. I know when I travel, I am looking at mile markers. I'm looking at signs because I want to know if I'm heading in the right direction. Now here's okay. I'm gonna tell on myself. I remember this was back, I don't know, it was a while ago. I was probably in college at the time, and had just started driving, and these were the days before GPS. Yes. And so we got in the car, and everybody in the car went to sleep. And they told me where we're going, and everybody went in the car. Went to sleep. This was, of course, in college, because that's only what college students do. And we were supposed to be going in one direction. And I wasn't really paying attention to the mile markers because I thought, hey, we're moving and we're getting to, right? I knew some places where we needed to get to, but it wasn't a consistent looking at the mile markers. And so we ended up about an hour and a half out of our way before, somebody woke up and said, hey, this doesn't look like this is the right direction. And so we had gone for about an hour and a half outside of our way, or in a different direction. And so these smaller tasks are mile markers. They're mileposts. They're milestones that tell us that we are heading in the right direction. So as we are moving to 100 days of consistent walking, right? So 1 week, and I told you I'm using weeks. You can break it up, whatever is more manageable for you in your story. And so each week, I'm breaking it up and saying, okay, I'm 1 week in, I'm 2 weeks in, I'm 3 weeks in, right? Now days go along with that, but those are my mile markers. And so those are my milestones, and I get to check those off. I get to look at my calendar and see the weeks ticking away. And that gives me motivation because I want to put that next red X on the calendar, right? And that helps me to know that, hey, this is what I'm doing. Yep. So breaks into mile markers, milestones, if you will. We can now break those milestones into actionable steps, because sometimes the whole, right, walk 100 days consistently. Well, an actionable step is to walk today. I'm going outside and I'm walking today. I don't know what that does for the entire, I think I'm gonna walk down this way. I don't know what that does for the entire 100 days, but I know that for today, I am walking. And so as I walk, as I move in that direction, it's an actionable item for me. I can do that, and then I can check that off. And then tomorrow I can walk and I can check that off. So if you need to check off each day, then go for it. I mean, I'm checking off each day, but so I'm doing the days, and then one of the mile markers, and that is the week, right? So you could have multiple, right? So check it off, and that sets you up for success. Once again, the momentum and so forth. The next thing is, let's do an example. If you're going to do a 5K run, you could get up, say that's going to be, 6 months from now. You could get up and say, okay, I'm going to run 5K in 6 months. But
time 25 minutes 50 seconds. Total distance 1.0 miles. Average pace 25 minutes 49 seconds per mile. Split pace 25 minutes 49 seconds per mile.
So you heard my readout. But what we can do is we can break that up into 1 month at a time. And so we're going to be training for the next 5 months, 5.5 months, 6 months. And so what do we need to do in this month to get ready? We need to learn we need to learn our pace. We need to work on our stamina. We need to work on, maybe we have some bad ankles, bad knees, bad shoes, right? So we need to get the equipment that we need, right? So all those things are milestones that we are using to set ourselves up for success, so that at 6 months, when we do show up for the 5K, then the likelihood of us getting through it successfully has gone up, because we've been heading in that direction. We've broken it up into smaller chunks, and then we can move that way, right? So what's your running schedule, right? What did you do? What is the pace that you're going to be doing? Did you get the necessary gear, right? Do you have someone you're going to be running with? All those things. Are you registered for the 5K? So all of those are milestones that we can now use to set ourselves up for success. It's so windy out here today, as you guys hear. And actually, there are a lot of folks out. You're not seeing it, but I'm walking behind a group. several groups actually that are out walking. Community, right? So they're working with community, accountability. Remember all those things that we've dealt with. Okay, and then you want to create a timeline. All right, what's the timeline? And this goes back to SMART goals. So even as you are breaking that large goal into manageable tasks, each of the tasks now have to have a timeline. So when am I going to get to that task and accomplish that task so that I can add that to the larger path that's taking me to success in the goal that I want, right? So that has to have time as well. So we're not just, okay, well, this larger goal is going to be next year, it's going to be next month, it's going to be in 100 days. And so I'm just going to kind of, do what I need to do. For instance, the 100-day walk, right? The consistency. Well, if you wait and not walk one day, then that pushes your 100 days back. And so if we're going to achieve it in 100 days, then there are some things, some parameters that we need to put in place. And that part of that is the time that we are, the time that it takes for us to be able to do that and to be able to do it successfully, okay? Then celebrate small wins. Each time that you do a day, was one day down, that is a win. Each time you're able to mark that day off on your calendar, that's a win. Each time you do one of the worksheets, that's a win. Each time you do a challenge, that's a win. Because all of that is setting you up for success. And our goal is 100 days of consistent walking. But each time we have those small, manageable, those small, achievable tasks, that is a win for us. And so we want to celebrate that. The power of motivation is incredible. The power of suggestion is incredible. And often it is in these small moments when we can celebrate ourselves, when we can give ourselves an attaboy, attagirl, when we can give the inner coach some strength, some power, something that it can use to motivate us, to push us. These moments are so important. So don't miss the opportunity to celebrate those wins. Because if we don't, it can be a very challenging, arduous path to the place that we're trying to go. So I want to make sure that you are setting yourselves up for success by saying, okay, this is a win. And when you're celebrating the win, I got to jump in here and talk, right? This is not in the part of the discussion, but the vision, right? Visualize it, that win. This is going to be a place, this is going to be a time, this is going to be with whoever people you're in with, so that you can celebrate 100-day walk to consistency. So you can celebrate that the money that you've saved. So you can celebrate the weight that you've lost. Celebrate the A1C that you've improved, the blood sugars that are better, the medications that you're off, the metabolic disease that you've improved. All of those are wins, and you want to make sure you're celebrating them, and you want to visualize. You want to catch that vision. You want to create it as detailed as possible, so the brain and the mind has something that it could grab onto and that it can use to create the story that says, I am successful. All right, so make sure that you're putting texture, you're putting sights and colors to the win. We need to do one where we actually just create a visual for that. Right? Create a visual for that. So maybe go through an exercise where we together walk through that process, because that is ultimately very, very important in the things that we're going to do. Just waiting to get across the street. All right. So that's how we break big goals into smaller, more manageable tasks that set us up for success. Well, you know, that's our discussion, but we can't leave without a challenge. That's right. You ready? You ready? Ready? But the challenge, because that is where we implement. That's where we have some fun in the things that we're doing. So our challenge for today is with the idea of breaking larger goals into smaller chunks, smaller tasks. So we're chunking. So I want you to identify a goal, a big goal. Okay, it doesn't have to be massive, but large enough so that you are able to practice this idea of chunking. So I want you to identify a large goal, choose one that's big but not super huge, and then write it down. And then I want you to break it down into smaller milestones, smaller chunks, smaller pieces that you are going to then use as the mile markers so that you know that you're heading in the right direction, so that you know that you are making progress, so that you can look at them and you can actually celebrate what you do in that time, right? So lots of different reasons for that. And I want you to create an actionable plan for how you are going to get into the process. And then you want to take and write that down, right? Always recording, write it in your journal. And then I want you to take a step in that direction. You want to create a timeline for how long that's going to take. You want to create a specific action items that you're going to be processing, that you're going to be tracking. And then I want you to take a step in that direction. And I want you to record what is happening. I want you to record it as you're going through it. What steps have you taken? What steps have you done? And I want you to make sure that you are celebrating your wins, right? Celebrate your first small win. Don't wait for it to, yeah, there you go. Don't wait to get to the second win or the third win or the fourth win. When you get that first small win, I want you to be celebrating, because that is a mile marker. That is a measurable item that you can say, look at what I've done. The inner coach is going to be excited. You can put that in your success journal, and that will allow you to be able to look back at it, to be able to refer to it and pull it out when you need it. Yeah. Okay? So that's our challenge for today. And I want you to find someone in your accountability group or with your accountability partner. I want you to share the win with them. So don't just look at it yourself. I want you to share the win with them to let them know that you have done that you've been successful in what you are doing. Okay? All right. So hey guys, I'm so glad that you were able to join me for this 100-day walk to consistency. I can't stress enough that you want to make sure that you are doing the challenges, that you're doing the worksheets, that you are spending time, you're taking the time to be able to do that and to be able to set yourself up for success. When you finish with the 100-day walk to consistency, you would have created a manual that you can use now to transplant, to extrapolate to other aspects of your life. So make sure that you're taking the time that you need. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. Thank you for joining me for my 100-day walk to consistency. We'll see you tomorrow for day number 32. All right, have a great one. We'll see you on the trail.